This is the brand new third generation Audi Q5 and it is refreshingly and unabashedly petrol powered. Now look, there's nothing wrong with electric cars, it's just that we've been inundated with them lately, especially from the luxury car manufacturers. So it's nice after a long while to have a simple mid-size luxury SUV powered by a petrol engine. Now, this is also a very important car for Audi in India because while the brand has launched a number of models in the last couple of years, you might notice that they are all mostly high-end, high-powered or high-performance or electric. And the core of the brand, the small to mid-size luxury cars, have been stagnant for a little while. So this is going to be a big and important car for Audi in India. And we've come here to Spain, where the weather is being a bit of a pain, as you can see. We're going to put a silver lining on these dark clouds. Let's call it Quattro weather and make the most of it. And I'm going to take this car for a drive and tell you what you can expect when it comes to India. If you too are rooting for Audi to make a big comeback, give this video a thumbs up and tell us in the comments which is your favorite Audi model. As always, if you haven't already, do subscribe to Autocar India and turn on your notifications to stay updated. Now, back to the Q5, and I personally think it makes a great first impression. Now, if there's one thing I'm really happy with when it comes to this car is the way it looks on the outside, because I think Audi has been very bold for a change and not the usual conservative look that they usually go for. This looks really in your face, and it all starts with this single frame grille. I mean, look at the size of the slats, these little ingots in it that just screams at you and has a whole lot of drama. There's also these lovely vertical elements on the sides over there and the big intake down there, and even the headlamps, they're very three-dimensional, by the way. They go all the way inside. I'm not sure if you can adequately see that on screen, but there's a lot of musculature in the bonnet, in the headlamps, and these headlamps, matrix headlamps, have various light signatures. You can choose from 8 of them, in fact, to customize this car to make it look the way you want to. Overall, I think it looks very handsome, yet very bold, and that's a nice step from Audi. In my personal opinion, a little bit better looking than some of the polarizing designs its rivals have come up with lately. Now, around the sides, first of all, let me apologize for the dirt. It is a messy day and we are in Quattro country, but I can tell you that there is a lot more sculpture than in the previous cars. It's not got those straight lines, those hard lines that the earlier cars had. Instead, it's got these smooth curves, but you see big thick haunches over here that give the car a lot of musculature. Now, I also really like the use of chrome on this S-Line version, and these blacked out pillars in the center here do have the Audi lettering and the Q5 TFSI Quattro badging just here, as a lot of the new cars have. Otherwise, it's a pretty conventional two-box shape. I think it looks good, gives a bit of a sporty appeal. It's not too tall or bulky or upright. That's what you want with a car like this. And it's riding on these 20-inch wheels, which I think look pretty good as well. Around the back too, there's a nice blend of simple please all design, but also quite a lot of boldness, and that's just so Audi, isn't it? I like that they've got a roof spoiler up here, and again, I hope you can see this on camera, but there is a whole lot of three-dimensionality to this design. This light bar that joins the tail lamps, there is a whole deck under here. It like scoops out and sticks out from the bodywork, and I think that gives it a lot of character. These tail lamps, by the way, are OLED. I like the ones in the front. There are patterns in here that can be configured and can also display emergency signals to the cars behind you. Overall, very, very smart looking, especially low down where you'll find real exhaust tips and a bit of a faux diffuser effect down there. It's got a nice stance, it's got a nice sort of squat musculature to it, and I think it looks really great. That, thankfully, hasn't come at the expense of practicality. Now, as we've come to expect from this class of cars, a pretty substantial boot with a nice wide loading area. The loading lip is quite high off the ground, but that is also to be expected. What's new here is that there is place for this shelf, if you don't want it, underneath the boot floor. As you can see, it's taken a trolley bag and a backpack quite easily. It'll definitely take a bunch of suitcases. What I would like to know down here though is if in India they'll manage to incorporate a spare tire. This is a mild hybrid, it has some extra batteries, and that might eat into tire space in India. Let's wait and see if and how they can get around that. There's better news once you step into the front seat. Now here too in the interior, I'm very happy to report that this is a great mix of emboldening and keeping things just a little bit safe and conservative, which is just what you want in an Audi. They have gone a little bit wacky by Audi standards with the dashboard design. I mean, we've seen a lot of this in the e-tron cars, the Q6 e-tron and the A6 e-tron, which is this dual curved screen area over here with digital dials and a big touchscreen and the optional passenger screen on that side. It's all a bit rakish, but it's also very logically laid out and very easy to process from the driver's seat. You get AC vents down here, two big cup holders, a wireless charger, USB-C ports, and this little toggle switch for the gear selector. Not too much of a fan of that, but again, this is not a sports car, so I think that's okay. Speaking of sporty, this gonna say octagonal steering wheel, it's not circular at all, but I think it looks really cool and it's not to the detriment of driving. It feels quite nice to hold, but if you're not a fan of this sort of thing, I totally understand. Now this particular car is trimmed in what I like to call India spec, which is beige upholstery, brown colored wood and dark grey. So expect to see a lot of cars in India just like this, and I think it works well. The quality in typical Audi fashion is just superb. Everything is put together really well. Materials are soft to touch where you want them to be and nice and rich feeling when you want them to be that as well. The only thing I'd say in this particular spec of car is that there is a lot of exposed dark grey plastic, like here on the armrests and around the door handles. Very high quality plastic, make no mistake, but just seeing a lot of it out there on a car of this price can be a little bit jarring. Overall, it's a very practical and high quality cabin. This is the S-Line version, so you've got these sporty bucket seats. There are standard seats that might not be quite as sporty, but they work really well, and I think this is a great place to be from the driver's seat or even as a passenger. Before we move to the back though, I have to touch on one more thing. This car is one of the first to use Audi's new PPC or Premium Platform Combustion architecture, and while it is essentially another evolution of the previous MLB Evo platform, one crucial change is the move to the latest electric and electronic or ENE architecture that's used by the Q6 e-tron and A6 e-tron. And that means a new gen infotainment system. I do have to talk a little bit more about this touchscreen infotainment system because while it does look good, and I also have to say it functions very, very slickly. It's an OLED display and it is just so smooth. You also do have to lament the fact that once again, far too much has been assigned into it. I mean, a simple example is the climate control, which apart from the two temperature zones which stay on screen at all times, just to get into the fan menu, takes, as you can see, about a second or two, and that is just not on when you're on the move. It needs to be a lot quicker and a lot slicker, or ideally a physical control down here with the rest of the buttons. Thankfully, everything else works really, really slickly. You've got controls for all your screens over here and the drive modes, which is again a two-step process that are quite easily accessed once you've pressed it once. Overall though, it is a great step in the right direction in the way this infotainment system has evolved, but a few physical controls would go a very long way. Irritatingly, it's a similar story with the digital dial screen, which is super crisp and clean but barely offers any customization. The default setting has just too much info stuffed into the screen, and as a result, many of the vital readouts are just too small, which makes us yearn for the more basic but cleaner last-gen Audi virtual cockpit dials. The passenger screen, as in any car, feels a bit forced, but thankfully it is optional. And with that, here are some of the feature highlights of the new Q5. Now, let's go check out the all-important rear seat. Now, of course, for any luxury SUV in the Indian market, the back seat has to have some importance. Here, I'm happy to report that the seat is a very good place to be. You're sat quite high up. In fact, you're sat very high up. You can see the floor is set very, very high, and you can even see a huge transmission tunnel that extends over to the sides over there. But the advantage is that it gives you a decent view forward, although these seats are quite big. Now, I'm just under 5'8", that's set to my driving position. I've got a decent amount of knee room, but I suppose taller passengers would prefer a bit more. This seat, I think, is at a good angle. Some, again, would have liked a bit more recline, but I think this level of upright is a good amount. Seat cushioning is very, very good though. Nice and comfy. You can sink your back into it very well. But a middle passenger will have a bit of a problem thanks to that high transmission tunnel and the fact that the middle seat is just not well located in respect to the outermost seats. That said, the party trick of this car is that the seat slides up to 100 millimeters back and forth. It's mainly to liberate more space in the boot. But as you can see, it does also maximize knee room if you don't have too much going on in the back over there. This car doesn't have sun blinds over here, nor does it have a sunroof, but hey, that could change. In fact, you can even see the sort of frame placed there for a sunroof, and I'm assured that we will get a sunroof when the car comes to India. It's also got 2 USB Type-C ports and a third climate zone back here with AC vents. All told, the interior, whether front or rear, is a step up in terms of comfort, design and tech for Audi, but perhaps still a little behind rivals in terms of outright wow factor. Could the same be true of the way it drives? I quickly hopped back into the driver's seat just as the weather started to change again. So if the footage doesn't quite line up inside and outside the car, I do apologize. Now, some of you might question the merit of driving a car in Europe, in European spec, which is not the same spec that will come to India. And yes, we are well aware, but it's good to give you a preview of the car nonetheless. And to be honest, a lot of things on this car are in India spec, although some of them are not. And I'll get to those things over the course of driving this car. But let's start with the one thing that is more than likely going to be the same for India, and that is the engine. It is the now all too familiar 2-liter TFSI turbo petrol engine. We've seen it in a bunch of Audi cars, and it's here once again. Power is now 204 horsepower and torque is 340 Newton meters. Incidentally, those outputs are actually less than the current cars, but don't go crazy in the comments just yet, because this car has a little electric trick up its sleeve. It's also got a 48-volt mild hybrid system that is a bit stronger than previous iterations, and that Audi says allows it to perform a lot longer and a lot stronger in electric mode when it comes to electric assistance, to the point that it will even do a bit of electrical only coasting driving. I wouldn't call it driving, that's why they don't call it a strong hybrid, but under electric power without the engine alone. Right now, for instance, I'm doing 70 kilometers an hour and the engine is off, just cruising down the highway. Dubbed Audi MHEV Plus, this new 48-volt system combines a 1.7 kWh LFP battery with an integrated starter generator motor. And apart from coasting without the engine, it can even let the Q5 do low-speed parking maneuvers on electric power alone. We do hope they bring the system to India too, because a big real-world advantage is that AC performance is not reduced when the engine stop-start kicks in. So while on the topic of this 48-volt mild hybrid system, let me just tell you that the most impressive thing about it is how seamless it is. You can't tell when it's switching on or switching off. This is the petrol engine, yeah, so it is quite refined as well. I'll get back to that in a moment. But it's only when you put your foot down that the engine steps in, and when it does, you really can't tell. The mild hybrid system also supplements the engine with a bit of electric boost, as they tend to do. In this particular case, it's about 25 horsepower and 230 Newton meters of little extra boost. Can you feel it? No, again, partly because it's just so seamless, but I'm sure it's there and I'm sure it's helping out. But all this boost and electrical assist is one thing. Where they should really pay dividends is in the fuel economy, because as a result of not knowing for how long you're running on electric power, you are really saving on fuel consumption. Another fascinating and unexpected side effect of this new mild hybrid system is that they have incorporated braking by wire, and it's supposedly a whole lot more comprehensive than before. What I mean by that is, allegedly, most of the time when you brake, it's not the friction brakes, the car's actual physical brakes doing the braking, but the regen. That's right, the regen system of the car is pulling back energy and bringing you closer to a halt. It's only when you actually step quite hard down on the brakes that the friction brakes come into play. And the best part is that, like everything else to do with the mild hybrid system, it's just so seamless that you can't tell it's happening. Impressions of the engine? Well, it is what we've come to expect from a 2-litre TFSI engine. If Audi's been a bit bolder with the exterior and interior design, the powertrain is where they've kept things quite familiar. It fits with Audi's ethos of refined, fuss-free progress rather than outright excitement or any such thing like that. It's incredibly refined, as I mentioned before. It's very smooth, and it's got plenty of go, as the power figures do suggest. But it's not rev happy, it's not going to tug at your heartstrings, and that's perfectly okay. Now let's talk about the chassis, and here we get to some of the things that are probably not going to make it to India. For one, this car rides on the optional air suspension, which is probably not what we're going to get over in India. There are steel springs as standard. And this car is riding on 20-inch wheels. Wheel sizes for the Q5 go all the way from 18 to 21 inches. And I believe we're going to get a set of 19s in India if the market is anything to go by. Now, interestingly, this air suspension isn't set up in the same floaty way that some of Audi's larger cars even are set up. It's quite firm. It's got that European firm edge that we like to talk about, and that's just as well for a car of this size and type. It's not uncomfortable. In fact, if there's a degree of discomfort, it comes from the larger wheels over some of the slightly rougher patches of road we've encountered here in Spain, and there are quite a few. Most Audis of late have been champions of ride quality in their India spec, so let's hope they can recreate that magic for the new Q5. Now, the 2-litre TFSI engine is the only one in the range that can be had as a two-wheel drive, a front-wheel drive version. But it's likely, given its positioning in India, that we will get a quattro all-wheel drive system, which is what this car has. Again, much like with the powertrain, this is not a chassis setup that's designed to enthrall you or excite you. It's meant to just grip and go, and that it does really well. It gives you a lot of confidence. The quattro gives you a lot of grip in corners, and it feels nice and neutral and easy to go fast in by a wider variety of drivers. But what if you do want that extra bit of excitement from your Audi SUV? The good news is there's a Q5 for that too. Now file this one under please Audi, please consider bringing this to India, because while there are no concrete plans at the moment, they're open to it. It's the SQ5 and it's in sport pack, guys. I mean, personally, I think if they do an SQ5 for India, and I think they really should, it should be this sport pack, because while you get the added performance and the added driving dynamics, you do also get a bit more style. And if you're in the market for one of these, why not have a bit more style as well? And really, there's nothing like introducing a slightly sportier version, sure, at a higher price, to introduce a bit of brand building for the regular Q5. Would you like to see an SQ5 join the Q5 lineup in India? Let us know down in the comments. If it comes, it would be a direct rival to the likes of the Mercedes GLC 43. So what makes the SQ5 the SQ5? Well, it's primarily what's under the hood, and that is a 3-litre turbocharged V6. It pumps out a nice solid 367 horsepower and 550 Newton meters of torque. To help you enjoy that added performance, you do get a slightly sportier cabin with darker colors, a bit of faux carbon fiber trim on the dash, Alcantara on the doors, and a sportier steering wheel. The best way to feel it though is to just put your foot down. Because not only does it sound really great, it has a lot of gusto too. If you know this engine from other Audi S cars, you'll know what to expect. It's quite responsive. It's not particularly loud, but it sounds great. and the gearbox that comes with it is eager and raring to go. And show it a bit of a corner, and I'm happy to say even this SUV holds its own really well. Our test car also has the optional air suspension, but by default the SQ5 gets its own unique steel sports suspension that's different from the standard Q5. But even this setup is not bad at all. Body control is very tight and turn-in is super sharp, and that's what you want in your sports SUV, right? Now this engine too has adopted the new mild hybrid system, so when you do start it up, it starts up silently without the engine, which is a bit weird and disconcerting in an S model, but as you pick up the pace, it only serves to enhance the performance. If Audi does bring the SQ5 Sportback to India, it would have to be a CBU import, so the price would go up. But as we've seen with rivals, there are more than a few takers for a fast, stylish luxury family SUV. So all I can say is, pretty please Audi. But back to the Q5 SUV on the whole. You must remember that there hasn't been an all-new mainstream ICE Audi model launched in India since the Q3 in 2022. And here's why I think the Q5 couldn't arrive a moment too soon. In this polarizing age of big swings and misses, where people do big drastic changes and moves, it's kind of refreshing that Audi has gone for an evolution and given us more of what we expect with the new Q5. Yes, it isn't a dramatic change in terms of its proposition compared to its predecessor, but maybe that's exactly what the doctor ordered. It's really nice to drive, it's very refined, it's very comfortable, all the things you want in your mid-size Audi SUV. But is there a catch? And yes, there is. And that's because this car isn't going to be coming to India anytime soon. In fact, it's not likely to be here before 2026. That's a lot of time to wait, and Audi is still figuring out what spec they will bring to India. Now, hopefully, they can price it just right and give us the car that they need just so badly to build up that momentum that they've been lacking in recent times. And certainly as a product, I can tell you even from this European spec car that this could really just be the one to do it.